Come on, Livingston. We gotta go on and on and on. Together we can make it. We gotta go on and on and on. Come on, Livingston.
Knocks it through. Mullen bursting into the box. Josh Mullen.
Together we can make it.
Mullen's ball across, it's turned in! It's Pittman who's got it! Livingston leads!
Can they get the ball back in? O'Brien.
Lead! And Livingston have the lead!
Man, can score.
If we march together.
The full-time whistle blows and David Hayes celebrates! And the Livingston fans join in exultation.
Come on, Livingston.
Livingston have the lead against Rangers, and they are certainly rising to a few occasions on their return to the top flight in Scotland.
Come on, Livingston. We gotta go.
Hello, you're listening to Talk Livi, the podcast dedicated to West Lothian's finest football team, Livingston Football Club, and proudly sponsored by Steelmen Apparel. My name is Angus, and today I'm joined by Euan. Euan, how you doing, man?
I'm good, mate. I'm very good. All the better for watching Livingston finally put to bed the penalty woes on Saturday at McDermott Park. No Livingston fan should have celebrated when the penalty was awarded, given our recent history, but luckily we were able to celebrate a goal in the end, and we were able to celebrate a goal because I wasn't commentating on it. So that always helps as well. But yeah, a point on the road, not a bad result. What about yourself, Angus? How you doing?
Yeah, not so bad. Maybe not the most exciting of weeks for us to be talking about football, but you know we're here to do it anyway, and we've got a big game to kind of preview for this weekend. But yeah, hopefully it should be a good one. As always, you can search for Talk Livi on your preferred podcast streaming sites where you can follow or subscribe to ensure you don't miss an episode. You can also catch up on all our episodes that we've done to date.
We'll kick things off by discussing our League Cup exit to Rangers as the Lions crashed out of the Cup at Ibrox.
We'll be discussing our draw in Perth as the Lions' penalty woes came to an end against St Johnstone.
And finally, we'll look ahead to our home game with Motherwell as the Lions look to go into the international break on a high.
The Lions travel to Ibrox hoping to secure a trip to Hampden in the League Cup. It wasn't meant to be as Livy fell to a 4-0 defeat. Euan, what did you make of the game? Obviously, it's probably about a week ago now. What did you make of it?
Tough one to take it. I mean, it's not a particularly, I wouldn't say it's the strongest Rangers team I've ever watched, and they've taken 8 goals off us in 2 games at Ibrox this season, which I think is quite frustrating from our point of view. But I do think in both games, they mirror each other in so many ways, not just the scoreline, but just even the pattern of the game. And early stages, you know, you want to go into places like Ibrox and Celtic Park, you want to keep it tight for the first 20 minutes. You want to try and get to half-time, get the fans frustrated on their backs. And in both games, we've conceded in the first 10, 15 minutes at Ibrox this season. Rangers, it was very much a kind of repeated pattern of play. It would go between the centre halves, go between Jack and Lundstrom. The ball would get played out wide to Tavernier, he'd get the ball out his feet and put a cross into the box. And I reckon Tavernier probably put about 20 crosses into our box at least the first half of the game. But also when you go to places like Ibrox, you need the rub of the green in terms of decisions going in your favour at times. And the opening goal, 10 minutes in, ball over the top. Jamie Brandon looks in control of the situation. To be honest, there's a clear push on his back from Adulasima, albeit I do think we need to defend the situation better. I think Jamie could be a little bit stronger in that situation, but for me, it is still a foul. And after that, we need to play to the whistle. The Lucas is backed off and allowed Seema the opportunity to bend one into the far top corner. Don't take anything away from him. Fantastic finish. But how that's not been looked by VAR and overturned, I have no idea. I mean, you could even tell by the way Rangers fans celebrated the goal. It was almost like they anticipated it being chopped off for a foul. But it changes the context of the game completely when you go here and you're a goal down after 10 minutes. And I think from about half an hour, 35 minutes onwards, we gradually started to work our way into the game. Dan Mackay was probably our best out ball on the right-hand side, put in a dangerous cross for Curtis Guthrie. I think Curtis probably needs to really chuck himself at it and just try and get something on it and try and force Butland into a save. And then we kind of had an opportunity with Stephen Kelly from the edge of the box at the tail end of the half, but probably deserved to be at least a goal down at half time. Shamal George had pulled off a couple of decent saves after in fact, prior to the first goal going in. I think we started the second half a lot brighter. We came out a little bit more on the front foot and did try to get our foot on the ball. A couple of times when we moved the ball a little bit quicker, made it 1-2 touch. We did manage to find a way in behind Rangers, and it was kind of last-ditch tackles here or there. There was one opportunity where Newbley kind of squared up James Tavernier on our left-hand side and got him behind, but his final ball just left a little to be desired in that situation. Then probably our biggest opportunity on the night was from Luigi De Lucas, header from a corner, which he's put narrowly past the post. But it just shows you need to be clinical when you go to Ibrox, because within a few minutes, Rangers have doubled the lead. Second goal from Yilmaz, and from our point of view, I think we've got two opportunities to just stop the play. Show our cynical side. De Lucas has an opportunity to just clip his heels. Stephen Kelly, I think, has an opportunity to clip his heels before he gets the edge of the box to have his shot. And as I say, we just had to be cynical there, take the punishment, take the yellow card and deal with the free kick. And as I say, you find yourself 2-0 down. Third goal late on. It's a fantastic ball by Barisic, but De Lucas, as much as we've praised Luigi in early weeks, he's not had the best week against both sides of the Old Firm. I think he's kind of had a part to play in maybe 5 of the 7 goals. And he's obviously tried to get a block in, and it's looked over Shamal George and into the far corner. And then the fourth goal, it's irrelevant at that point, but it's a tidy finish from Ryan Jack. But yeah, I think there was a passage for maybe half an hour where I think we gave a decent account of ourselves. But it's just so frustrating that we've had 3 games against the Old Firm this season, conceded 11 goals. But we're coming away with elements of the games and going, oh, that was quite positive, but you conceded 11 goals. I think that's probably the most disappointing thing, is these, especially the 2 games at Ibrox, with these almost kind of late collapses where it's ended up being on the end of a heavy defeat when it probably wasn't, I would say, the fairest reflection of the game. Yeah, it's a frustrating one. Obviously, you don't go to Ibrox expecting to get a result, but with the situation Rangers are in, and obviously since that game they have sacked Michael Beale, you're hoping to go there and cause and add to the frustration, and I don't think we did enough of that on Wednesday night.
I think that's clearly what the frustrating aspect of it all is that it's no known secret. It's like no hidden secret even that Rangers this season haven't been as good, and yet we've conceded 8 goals to them there. You look at the goals that we've conceded there on Wednesday night, where it's a push in the back, so it's not great. The second one's quite frankly embarrassing from our part. A player can't run 60 yards unchallenged. The fact that he's just like, fair play to the guy for like sprinting that far at the pitch, but to run 60 yards through the middle of the pitch, not beat anybody, not have to drop a shoulder, not have to do... He's literally done nothing but just run in a straight line. It's an absolute joke of a goal to concede. Then going to a third one, it's it's an unfortunate deflection. So there's 3 goals straight away there where you're saying all kind of possibly avoidable, or you're unfortunate to concede. The last one, is a sucker punch, and is to be fair to them, is very, very well worked out. And as you said, kind of the way that we've played against Rangers twice this season, the first half's been mainly about keeping it solid and trying to give us a chance in the second. We've done that, and then also just then decided to shoot ourselves in the foot. And that second goal is just the personification of that. How we can, be so solid and stuff like that, and then, just part like the Red Sea for Yilmaz to run entirely right through. But I think the frustration comes to you as well, is that we know that Rangers just aren't even that great this season. a number of the games that you've seen them play, they're just not that top level team. They've sacked Beale now, but I think with that squad that they have, they're probably going to drop more points. And I think people were thinking at the start of the season that the gap between Celtic and Rangers might not be as massive because they're both not going to be as strong as they probably were. But now you're looking at it and it's like Celtic probably don't even have to be great to win this league by probably about 15 points or so, in all honesty. And again, we're seeing what Motherwell did there. We were unfortunate to not get a point there. We've seen what Aberdeen did, tanking them 3-1 and stuff like that. Kilmarnock have proved to be difficult. And, it just feels like a missed opportunity is what kind of comes from it because, they aren't playing as well. But at the same time, we have to remember where we are and stuff like that as well. We've had a couple of injury issues where, we're probably missing like some Montano and Devlin who probably walk into that team there and play a big role in the affair and stuff like that. But yeah, try not to dwell too much on that game. It is just, disappointing to have like that exit be magnified so much by a result that makes it look as if we've been thrown about for 90 minutes.
Yeah, I think, as I say, that's the most frustrating bit, is that we've been on the end of two heavy defeats there where I don't actually think we've played that badly to reflect a 4-0 scoreline. I think that's probably the most frustrating bit in my eyes, and obviously the early decision kind of goes against us, which kind of gives you that uphill battle from 10 minutes into the game. To kind of touch on the starting 11, we were in debate whether it would be a back three or a back four. He stuck with that back four. And it also saw guys like Sean Kelly came into the side, played sitting in front of the back four with Jason Holt. Also saw the likes of Stephen Kelly starting the game and Dan Mackay. Were any of the guys that came into the side, did any of them impress you at all?
Yeah, I guess like that kind of game. To be perfectly honest, it's that kind of game where your backs are to the wall and all of that, and there's really not much more you can kind of do. It went terrible, but I guess like in terms of showcasing a potential spot like in the team and that, not massively to be honest. There wasn't really too much in there. I think you know what you can kind of expect from them. I don't think that there was anything in the performance that it was like cementing somebody to be in contention for the next game or that, to be honest. I don't know if you've got any different opinion.
I thought Dan Mackay showed flashes throughout the game in terms of he was probably our best attacking outlet. Dan Mackay put in a couple of dangerous crosses, broke in behind. He looked confident carrying the ball. And I think that's something we've spoke about from watching him against ourselves for Inverness as well. So you definitely saw flashes from Dan. In terms of the two Kellys, I think it's just good to get them on the pitch and get minutes under their belt, especially Sean Kelly, for the fact that he has been out injured since the Brecon game. So it was good for Sean to get a good 70 minutes under his belt. But in terms of going with the back four, we kind of said that was probably the position for debate. And even me and Connor on comms were kind of debating whether Sean Kelly would play in that a back three at the left-hand side or if it would be a back four. What was your thoughts on it being sticking with that back four that we played with against Celtic?
Yeah, I think it was a kind of like an interesting one. I think it would have been maybe more sense, if we're planning on playing this kind of like five at the back as we're kind of continuing on. I think maybe the St Johnstone game is maybe a game that's a bit more interesting to talk about the kind of like the shape and formation and all of that. I think it all does come down to the fact of the personnel involved. And I think that, if you're not going to play, if you're not going to start, yeah, I think for the St Johnstone one, there's maybe like a more of a point I would maybe see regarding this. I am maybe a little bit surprised that, the two games that, played the Old Firm that they have went back to like a back four that maybe just even makes it a little bit more unfamiliar for like those who are starting and stuff like that. It does seem interesting that we've went the two most attacking kind of teams in the league that we've reverted back to something else. But yeah, no, I think the St Johnstone one, there's more to talk about regarding the team shape and stuff like that.
Yes, as you mentioned, it's interesting. Obviously, David talked about it at the start of the season, wanting to go with a back three because it would give us a bit more of a solid platform. So it is intriguing that he decided to go with a back four for these two particular games, even though he maybe had personnel available to play, kind of stick with that back three. But as you say, there's talking points for that from the St Johnstone game. But overall, disappointing to be knocked out of the cup. Not a massive surprise, but it's probably just the way in which we've been knocked out of the cup that's the most disappointing thing. We're delighted to have Strana Apparel as sponsors of Talk Livi. UK based with a Swedish soul, we are Strana. Strana is an independent fashion brand from Scotland who create high quality and stylish attire for on and off the terraces. Inspired by terrace culture, lifestyle and music, all their clothing is designed using quality materials and workmanship to combine the very best style and fit. All of this means you get a premium quality fashion at affordable prices while enjoying a simple and secure service.
As a bonus for Talk Livi listeners, you can get 10% off your order using the code TalkLivi at the checkout. We'll also have some exclusive giveaways during the season, so keep your eyes peeled on our socials for those too. And thanks to Sterner for sponsoring Talk Livi.
The Lions were on the road again as they travelled to Perth to take on St Johnstone. A second half penalty from Sean Kelly would rescue a point for Livi as the game finished 1-1. Angus, we kind of mentioned there's probably more talking points about the shape from the last segment. First of all, what were your thoughts on the starting 11? It saw Tom Parks playing right of a back three, Sean Kelly in a back three, Ayo at the centre of it. Mo Sangari was kind of playing in one of those two in behind Bruce Anderson as well. So what was your initial thoughts when you saw the team lineup?
I think when we saw the team lineup, I think we were assuming it to be, the back four again, just because there wasn't really a natural player to be kind of being the right-sided centre half. Obviously, Sean Kelly and Parks have both played as, the left centre half there, and you could probably put Ayo maybe as the right centre half, but he's always kind of played as the completely central one. And has been relatively solid in doing so. So I think that when they actually lined up and we've seen that Tom Parks was on the right hand side, can't lie, there's a little bit of concern just in terms of the footballing aspect, and in all honesty, and it came true in the first half. That was an absolute shocking first half from us. There's no beating around the bush. We had very little idea of what to do, and try to play it from the back. I think we just look so uncomfortable in that setup, and I think that's the kind of point I was wanting to make about the back five and the back four. We're missing Michael Devlin through injury, and DeLucas has been one of the key performers, obviously barring that last week there. So two of your most natural centre halves of the season so far weren't starting. I don't think that makes much of a reason to to go with a back five, in all honesty. And I think that we were really, really struggling to do anything of note. And I think that it was just really disappointing in terms of how we were not looking for the ball really great. We weren't looking to go forward at any times. And I think that it was personified by a couple of instances where the ball was coming to Tom Parks and Jamie Brandon, instead of kind of getting a wee bit further up the park or creating an angle, was just becoming level with him and just standing at the touchline, which just completely cut off all space. And I think that he was starting to feel a wee bit of the wrath of the fans for that, because it just continuously kept on happening and it was just recycling the ball always. And yeah, it was just very, very drab, and there wasn't really anything to kind of be encouraged by. I think that the likes of Holt and Shinnie were working hard in the middle of the pitch, but in terms of any real quality during that first half, Euan, we were pretty shocking. We go a goal down, it's a through ball. I don't even think that the boy Phillips is meant to play it as far forward as he does, and it completely catches us all out. And the boy, no idea what his name is, I think he was like number 44 or something like that.
Costello,
like Joe Costello, manages to squeeze one by Shamal, and you're wanting that to be the wake up call, but then we get caught like in our final in our back third again, and they almost get in behind and score another time. And yeah, it just seemed as if we couldn't wait for half time, and that something kind of needed to be changed, or like a rocket needed to be put up the players' arses, in all honesty. And we ended up seeing Jamie Brandon coming off for Dan Mackay, which was maybe one that we were a wee bit surprised at, just because putting Mackay at right wing back. But again, I thought he was solid enough. And, for the most part, it was still kind of uninspiring. I think we had an effort with Anderson that he ended up being offside. And then we very fortunately get a penalty, Ewan. And in all honesty, looking back at this, I think it's one of those instances where the referees are trying to make up for the midweek issues there. I don't think it's a penalty at all. I think it's incredibly soft, and I don't know if they're maybe giving it in the hopes that we'd miss it because we usually so bad. It's and then the referees maybe be like, oh no, they've actually scored one. But fair play to Sean Kelly stepping up again, taking a penalty. That's him on his second goal of the season, and is it 3 appearances? So good goal to game ratio for him so far. But that definitely breathed a bit more confidence into us. I think we started going on the ascendancy a wee bit more. We get St Johnstone get a red card for Gordon with a high challenge on Nubley. Don't know how the referee didn't see this as a foul to begin with, to be honest with you. I think from there on, again, we're hoping for us to kick on a little bit. And it seemed to be a little bit more, again, like the Celtic game where we're on the ascendancy, we're expected to kind of attack a little bit, and we just don't seem to know what to do. It's just a whole bunch of crosses from deep, and St Johnstone were more than happy enough to defend that. And yeah, I think that in that instance that we should have been, you're looking for your kind of more of attacking players wanting to get into the box, cutting the ball back and everything like that. But it just seemed as all we wanted to do was, cross it from deep, which was simple enough for them to defend at most of the times. I think Ayo went close on one occasion from one of them. But again, we just simply didn't create enough to win the game. And I think that in the end, a draw seems to be the fair result because of that.
Yeah, I think to kind of touch on the initial starting 11, we had this debate before the game talking about who would play the right-hand side of that back three. And we talk about, it's not very often you see a left-footed centre-half play the right-hand side, but I think it's just because left-footers are more uncommon than a right-footer. We've watched Mikey Devlin play the left-hand side of a back three this season, who's a right-footer. So it's not that bizarre. I think what I would probably say is, and this isn't a disrespect to Tom Parks, but he's maybe not the most ball-playing centre-half. So I think putting him on the right-hand side, I think you're asking him to maybe do a job that's not his forte. It's not where he's at his most comfortable. And I think asking him to play on that right-hand side kind of made it a difficult afternoon for him. I think that resulted in Jamie Brandon coming short a lot of the time instead of making an option in behind or running in behind. So I think it kind of disrupted the balance of the side that little bit in the first half. And as you say, other than a header from Sangari that was blocked and a kind of pot shot from Jamie Brandon, we offered very little in the first half. And I think we were lucky that it was only 1-0 at half time. Costello had an effort at the edge of the box, early doors that he dragged wide. And then the goal, I think, as you said, I don't think the pass from Phillips is intended for Costello, and I think it's ended up proving to be a fantastic through ball because Sean Kelly stepped up, I think, to put pressure on Phillips, and then the ball's obviously broke in behind to Costello. Personally, think Shamal George needs to do a little bit better. He gets a good hand on that, and I'd be hoping that my goalkeeper saves that. So I think there's a bit of disappointment with the goal in that sense. And they could have got one straight after that, almost from the kickoff. Costello got in behind again, but the effort's deflected, and Shamal George does stand up at this time and make the save. Ayo Obalai almost spectacularly turned one into his own net, almost lobbing Shamal George, but fortunately landed on the roof of the net. But second half, again, it was an improvement without creating an awful lot in terms of clear-cut opportunities. And then we get the break with the penalty. It's a ball over the top from Ayo Obalai. And what I would say is, I think it's a penalty that definitely falls into the soft category. I'm first to admit that. What I would say from a St Johnstone perspective is, why is Gordon making the challenge in the first place? Because the ball looks overhit and looks like it's going to roll out for a goal kick. I don't understand why he's tried to make contact with Nubley, and he's given the referee a decision to make in that instance. And I think my biggest concern when we got the penalty is not a penalty record, but I think the ball changed hands 3 times. I think Bruce Anderson had it at one point, Sangari had the ball at one point, and then Sean Kelly's obviously taken it. And listening to Davy's
Hoping it
comment.
would come up to the crowd and give me it.
I know. I was expecting it to get passed along at some point. Good job it didn't get passed to me, because I've got previous for missing a penalty into Gary Malley at half time a number of years ago. But yeah, Sean Kelly stepped up and he's listening to the manager's comments. The manager's almost trying to take the assist as well by telling him that he wanted him to reverse it to the other corner instead of going for his favourite one to the keeper's right. And that's what he does. He sends Meat off the wrong way, and we're back in the game, probably undeservedly, I would say, at that point. But I felt certainly from the equaliser onwards we were the better side, and as you mentioned, in the ascendancy, and if anyone looked like getting a winner at that point, it was probably ourselves. You mentioned that header from Iobali's put wide. Nubly had a glancing header from a Stephen Kelly free kick, which Mitos made a comfortable save from. Then there's the red card with kind of 10 minutes to go. It wasn't particularly clear where the red card was coming from, because Jason Holt made a challenge just a few seconds afterwards, which I think Holty, it was a challenge out of frustration more than anything, but he got booked for it. And then obviously came the VAR check, and you're going, surely it can't be Holt's one. Holt's is just a stick-on yellow card. So it was obviously Gordon's one, which looked in real time a wee bit naughty and surprising, as you mentioned, that it wasn't pulled up and probably dealt with at the time. But looking at it again, I think it's a bit harsh, to be honest, for a red card, because of the minimal contact that he's actually made. But I can understand why they've looked at it. I think if a yellow card's given at the time, it's not looked at by VAR. Personally, I think if the decision's been a yellow card in real time, I don't think VAR step in for a clear and obvious error. But there are elements as to what makes it a red card. It was a straight leg, studs were a wee bit high. So I can understand the decision, but from a St Johnstone perspective, I could absolutely understand the frustration that has been given. But as you say, we kind of huffed and puffed a little bit after the red card. We even had 7 minutes of additional time to kind of probe for that winner. And I think the closest we came was really Joel Nubly with a cross from deep that's evaded everyone and kind of narrowly gone wide in the end. But yeah, on the whole, it's a draw's a fair reflection probably of the game. I think it kind of falls into that game of two halves type of match. St Johnstone were the better side first half, and I think we were the better side second half. But again, kind of trying to look at the positives from the game. Last season, it's very similar to the Ross County game in a lot of ways, and we lose that game last season. We don't come back and manage to get anything from the game. However, we've shown a little bit of character. We've found the way to get back into the game and come away with a point when we've probably not played at our best for large spells of the game. So I think, as I say, that's the positives to take from it. However, over the course of the season, these kind of head-to-heads with the likes of St Johnstone, the likes of Ross County, I think are going to be vital in us maintaining our status in the Premiership, and we need to start looking to convert these games into 3 points rather than just the point that we got on Saturday.
The Lions welcome Motherwell to West Lothian, looking to record their first win over the Steelmen since 2020. Euan, how do you see this one going?
It's Motherwell, isn't it? We don't beat Motherwell.
Yeah, it's only going one way, isn't it?
We don't beat Motherwell. I think it's 2 wins since we've been promoted against them. A 2-0 victory in our first season back up. Stevie Lawless, Craig Halkett scored the goals either side at half time, and then there was a 1-0 victory where Aaron Taylor Sinclair scored in the second half at Livi. Motherwell are our proverbial bogey team in recent seasons, and over a number of years are a proverbial bogey team. Motherwell have been a bit of a surprise package, in all honesty, since Stuart Kettlewells came into the job. I don't think, even if you ask the most positive of Motherwell supporters, I don't think any of them would have looked at that appointment and been particularly excited by it. But you have to say he's done a fantastic job so far. He's got Motherwell sitting with 10 points already this season, 1-3 drawn, 1 lost. 2 of those defeats coming at the hands of either half of the Old Firm, and probably in both games you'd be looking that they should have picked up something from them. So they've been more than competitive. They have lost their main talisman in Kevin Van Veen over the summer, who moved back to Holland. So losing his goals, you would have thought initially that they would probably struggle, but they found a way. I do think, listening to a couple of Motherwell fans and seeing their comments on Twitter, they are missing that kind of X factor in the final third, which was Van Veen, and they maybe lack that kind of proper cutting edge. But I think they're very, very difficult to beat. I think just Kettlewell's instilled that in them. And certainly looking at the game we played them last season, I wasn't at the 3-0 defeat at Fir Park, and thank God I wasn't. But the one each game, I think they actually, and I think I said this at the time, it's probably the most football I've seen a Motherwell side come and play at our place for a long, long time. So I think they're getting rid of that, maybe a little bit of the stigma of being kind of big bruisers that, just get the ball forward, play off second balls. I think they have gradually kind of moved away from that. And they've got players that can cause a lot of problems. Blair Spittle's been a very good signing for them. He scored a cracking goal at the weekend against Celtic, their equaliser. So he's kind of one of their creative influences in the middle of the park. Certainly his delivery from dead balls and wide areas is always a threat. So it's something we're going to need to be very, very wary of. But I do think it's going to be a very difficult game, but we need to try and convert some of these draws that we've had this season. We need to try and convert into 3 points at some point, and it would be good timing going into the international break if we could pick up our first home league win of the season, and also end a little bit of a hoodoo at home to Motherwell as well.
Yeah, I can't lie, Euan. I'm not particularly looking forward to this game. They're on good form. They're solid. And in all honesty, Euan, we're just not attacking well. And because of that, I just don't see us really doing an awful lot against them. I think that the way that we've been attacking in recent weeks has been really quite poor. In all honesty, the way that we play on Saturday is going to depend on, what versions of some of our attacking players show up on Saturday. And that's going to be the main thing that gets us forward if that's going to be the case. If not, then Motherwell are going to simply win. So I think that's going to be an interesting one. I think that there's, an awful lot of debate coming up now in terms of, personnel who starts and stuff like that. And for good reason, because, it's not been, that great. We need to get back to the way that we're doing. I always kind of go back to, the first half of last season, either with, the likes of how Nibley was playing, or even the season beforehand when you had, wingers and that supplying Anderson, and we're getting great joy from them. But right now we just seem to be in a hopefully something will kind of happen kind of moment. And, I don't think Motherwell's the right team to be doing that against, because, they have got the quality to pick us off. They've got the quality at the back to keep us out as well. And, we're going to have to be right at it to get something. Right now, if you offered me a draw, I'd probably bite your hand off, in all honesty. It seems to be our main kind of way of getting points this season. But I think that's something that we need to be kind of looking at and hoping for, because, they're a team who are in good form, in good confidence. They'll be looking to bounce back from, a really sickening blow against Celtic at the weekend. Hopefully that's knocked a wee bit of stuffing out of them, and we can bounce back as well. But yeah, we just overall have to be much better, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, kind of looking at Motherwell, they have lost their last 3 at home to St Mirren, away at Ibrox, and then at home to Celtic. Granted, very difficult fixtures given St Mirren's start to the campaign. But kind of looking how Motherwell typically set up, it almost lends itself to us being matched up with Motherwell. I think they typically have been playing a back 3 with McGinn, Mugabe and Casey in that back 3. A player who's really been a shining light in terms of a young talent is a name that's familiar with Livingston fans, surname Miller, Lennon Miller, who's broke into the Motherwell side, son of Lee Miller, ex-Livingston player. He's been fantastic for them this season, playing in the middle of the park. And then, as I said, kind of you're looking at Blair Spittle, Callum Slattery being kind of playing off Theo Bair most of the campaign. Theo Bair kind of almost that number 9 who's been linking the game, and he's been a bit of a surprise package, I feel, for them this season, given I think most of them, having seen him at St Johnstone, probably didn't think much of that signing. So I can see 2 teams that are fairly closely matched, just matching up against each other. I can almost see it having a vibe of the St Mirren game we had recently, where it was two very evenly matched sides set up very similar, almost cancelling each other out to an extent. But I agree with you. From our point of view, it's interesting to see what personnel we will go with for that game. We have a few players who I would say were stick-ons to be starting most weeks last season, who maybe haven't been hitting the heights so far this campaign. Joe Newbley maybe being one of those. I know he kind of played his part on Saturday in terms of getting us back in the game with winning the penalty and also being on the end of the challenge for the red card. But we've seen glimpses of the likes of Dan Mackay in the last couple of games. Does he get the opportunity to start in the league?
I would hope so. I think with the way that we've been playing, we are crying out for somebody who's maybe going to take men on, or use a bit of pace to get in behind. Even if it is, we end up playing the ball out wide and it just gets us further up the pitch, we can build from there. I think regarding the back line as well, if we go for back four, then if we can do a 4-3-3, that would maybe be ideal, and it could help the likes of Bruce Anderson get a wee bit more service as well. If that is you opt with Dan Mackay on one wing and Newbley on another, you've got to be telling them get to the byline and cut the ball back, or even mix it up and stuff like that. Right now, we're just so predictable, and I think somebody like Dan Mackay coming in could be a very good thing for us. To even just freshen things up or change things around a little bit. But yeah, I certainly would not be opposed to Dan Mackay starting. I think that he's earned it from the last kind of two performances there.
You kind of touched on maybe going to a back four. I can see us sticking with the back three that we played against St Johnstone, although I think DeLucas did look a lot more comfortable on Saturday when he came on at McDermott Park, and actually gave us a little bit more balance in our shape when he came on for Tom Parks. Do you reckon it could just be a straight swap that he comes in for Parks? As I say, he's played on that right-hand side of the three most of the season, albeit had a couple of poorer games, but against probably the two best sides in the country in these defence. So could it be as simple as just that kind of straight in and out, and then you look at another in and out further up the pitch? We mentioned Sangari played off of Anderson at the weekend. Does Stephen Kelly come in? Offers a little bit more creativity, a little bit of a goal threat from the middle of the park as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think that, if you're not going to start DeLucas and you're not going to start Devlin, then scrap the back three, because I don't think we're good enough without both of them, to be honest. I could very much see that, and maybe Dan Mackay goes into right wing back from the start to give a wee bit more of a free runner, maybe from the right hand side. Maybe go back to the kind of way that we played in that first season when, Stephen Wallace was playing as a right wing back, and the defence kind of shifted over a little bit to give him a wee bit more coverage. Whereas the other side had an natural kind of left-sided defender playing there instead. DeLucas would like to kind of go onto the ball and fill up that kind of space. So that could be an option for sure. The concern is that playing Newbley in the central role hasn't been working. I don't think Sangari's much of a 10 either. I know he did well against Celtic with the balls in behind and stuff like that, but he's not technically as good as Stephen Kelly, so I guess that would probably be the better shout for that. But it's an interesting one. There are so many kind of players here that you're kind of talking about, and I think a 4-3-3 would just suit us a whole lot better, just in terms of getting players in their natural kind of areas, and it would help get the best out of Newbley, which would help get the best out of Livingston, in all honesty.
Yeah, I think it's been evident in the last couple of games, in particular with Newbley, when he has got into wide areas, isolating a fullback 1v1, he has just looked a lot more comfortable. I think naturally when he plays inside as that 10, he does get a lot, quite naturally, it's the most congested part of the pitch, and I think more bodies are naturally around him, which kind of forces him off the ball a little bit more and kind of doesn't allow him to be his creative self. So whether you change that to get Newbley into a more natural position, or you almost give him a little bit more freedom in terms of playing as that number 10 and allow him to drift into those wide areas where he can try and get 1v1 with fullbacks or a wide centre half, that kind of remains to be seen. But yeah, it's a big game, and I think we need to pick something up from it. To be totally honest, I think we do need to get another win on the board sooner rather than later, just to kind of get a little bit of momentum going before this international break. But Let's go predictions then, Angus. What are you going for?
I'm going to be the villain this week, Euan.
Oh, you started the season so positive, Angus. What happened?
Motherwell. That's what happened.
Yeah, fair point.
Can't be negative against Motherwell then. There's no point doing this anymore. Motherwell are going to win 2-0, I think, Euan.
2-0 Motherwell. Well,
You're the boos and the shaming from the other people predicting and stuff, but I'll be honest.
yeah, I'm going to be an absolute fence sitter, and I'm going to go for 1-1. It seems to be a common scoreline for us so far this season in the league. I think that's 3-1, 1-1 draws we've had, and a 0-0. So I'm going to go with another 1-1. But it'll be interesting to see how the manager sets up. I think, as we mentioned, having changed between a back four, back three in recent games, be interesting to see how he sets up. But hopefully, he can pick the right setup and we can get 3 points on the board. That's it for this week's episode of Talk Livi, and we really appreciate you tuning in every week. We'd love to hear your feedback as well. You can leave us a review on iTunes or drop us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram.
As Euan said, we're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, so simply search Talk Livi to find us. You'll find all the links for our weekly episodes on there, and any shares and likes are always appreciated. All our episodes are available on all the usual podcast streaming sites, including iTunes and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, and we'd love you to subscribe to the channel. If none of those options suit you, all you have to do is head to our website, talklivipodcast.libsyn.com, where you'll find every single episode we've done over the last few years.
That's it for this week, and thanks to all our listeners for tuning in. As always, it is greatly appreciated. Let's hope for another great week following the Lothian's finest football team.
West Lothian is our battle cry. This is the place from which we hail. Livingston, oh Livingston, it's up to Amberville. Livingston, 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 oh Livingston, oh Livingston, we love it when you score. Livingston, oh Livingston, the Amberville Lions roar. Livingston, oh Livingston, we realize our vision. Livingston, oh Livingston, to the